Hello students, welcome back to chemistry class. In the last class, we have studied about types of solution as well as the different ways by which a concentration of a solution can be expressed. In today's class, let us study about solubility concept. Okay? Under solubility, we have to study solubility of a solid in a liquid as well as solubility of a gas in a liquid. Let us study one by one. What do you mean by solubility? Solubility of a substance is its maximum amount that can be dissolved in a specified amount of the solvent at a specified temperature. I repeat again, solubility of a substance is its maximum amount that can be dissolved in a specified amount of the solvent at a specified temperature. Here three words are very important. Maximum amount, then solvent, specified amount of the solvent as well as specified temperature. It means how much maximum amount of a solute that can be dissolved in a particular quantity of the solvent at a particular temperature. Okay? Solubility of a substance is its maximum amount that can be dissolved in a specified amount of the solvent at a specified temperature. Now, what are the factors that affect this solubility? So, first one, nature of the solute and the solvent. Second one, temperature. Third one, pressure. Nature of the solute and solvent in the sense, the type of the solute and the solvent we are taking. Okay? Then temperature as well as pressure. This we will study one by one in detail. Okay? Let us move to the next topic. Solubility of a solid in a liquid. Okay, what happens when you add a solid solute to the solvent? Okay, when a solid solute is added to the solvent, some solid dissolves. Okay, and its concentration increases in the solution. This process is known as dissolution. When you add a solid into a solvent, some of the solute will dissolve in that. Okay, because of that, its concentration increases in the solution. This process is known as dissolution. Dissolution is nothing but the dissolving process of a solute. Okay, and there comes one more opposite process to this dissolution, that is crystallization. Then what is this crystallization? See, some of the solid particles present in the solution, they will collide, they undergo collision with the solid solute particles. Some of the solute particles present in the solution, they undergoes collision with the solid solute particles. Because of the collision, they get separated out of the solution. So this process is known as crystallization. These are the two opposite effects. Dissolution is nothing but solute is dissolving in the solvent. It is going to the solution. And crystallization is nothing but solid solute coming out of the solution, getting separated out of the solution. So dissolution as well as crystallization, these are the two opposite effects we have studied. So a stage is reached when the two processes occur at the same rate. This dissolution and crystallization, they will occur at the same rate, means the same speed. So under such condition, what will happen? Under such condition, the number of solid particles going into the solution will be equal to the solid particles separating out of the solution. I repeat, a stage where you can find the number of solute particles going into the solution will be equal to the number of solute particles separating out of the solution, and this state is known as a state of dynamic equilibrium. dynamic equilibrium because there is equal rate of both dissolution as well as crystallization. I have represented this dynamic equilibrium. Solute, when it is dissolved in the solvent, gives solution. That is, solute going into the solution through dissolution process, and from the solution the solute particles will get separated out through crystallization process. Look at here, the first picture, this represents dissolution. You are adding the solute into a solvent so that there is a dissolution process happening. In the second process, you can make out from the solution, the solute, because of the collision, they are getting separated out. Nothing but formation of the crystals. So this process is known as crystallization. Now, you may get one doubt. Whatever the solute we are adding into the solvent, whether it is at its extreme or the maximum limit, or furthermore we can add the solute so that the solvent has the capacity to dissolve it. So for this question, we will find the answer in these slides. Based on the amount of the solute present in the solution, we have the following three types of the solution: unsaturated, saturated, as well as supersaturated. Let us study one by one. Unsaturated solution. What do you mean by unsaturated solution? A solution in which more solute can be dissolved at the same temperature. I repeat, a solution in which more solute can be dissolved at the same temperature. Means to that solution you can add further more solute so that it can be soluble in that solution. Now second type, saturated solution. What do you mean by saturated solution? Saturated solution is nothing but a solution in which no more solute can be dissolved at a given condition of temperature and pressure. Here you cannot dissolve further more solute. Okay, that's why it is, we will tell the solution has reached saturated. So saturated solution means it contains maximum amount of the solute dissolved in a given amount of the solvent. You cannot add further more solute to that because it is at its extreme amount. Okay, and in the previous slide I have discussed about there is a dynamic equilibrium between crystallization as well as dissolution process. Now, in which type of the solution you find this dynamic equilibrium? That is nothing but at the saturated solution there is an equilibrium between dissolution and crystallization process. Okay. Now the third type, supersaturated solution. As the name itself indicates that supersaturated means it is beyond the point of saturation. It has crossed the saturated level. Okay, it is an unstable solution that contains an amount of the solute greater than the solute solubility. Okay, solute solubility is nothing but the saturated solution. So this supersaturated solution contains amount of the solute that is greater than the solute solubility. Also, it has undissolved solute at the bottom of the container. Because of the greater amount of the solute, it has undissolved solute at the bottom of the container. We will see this in terms of a picture. Look at this picture. The first one, unsaturated solution. Here, more solute can be dissolved. Okay, this is a saturated solution. Here, no more solute dissolves, and this is a supersaturated solution. Unstable solution. I already have said that it has undissolved solute at the bottom of the container. This is the test tube we have taken. You can see the undissolved solute at the bottom. Okay, these are the three types of the solution based on the amount of the solute present in the solution. So, as a summary, I can tell unsaturated solution is a solution in which more solute can be dissolved. Okay? Saturated solution is a solution in which no more solute can be dissolved. Supersaturated solution is a solution which contains more than the maximum amount of the solute. So this is the unsaturated solution, and this is a saturated solution, and this is supersaturated solution. You can see the crystals here. Okay? Now let us move to the next topic, the factors. In my previous slides I have said that solubility depends upon the three factors: nature of the solute and the solvent, temperature as well as pressure. Now let us study in detail one by one. The first one, nature of the solute and the solvent. How does this affect the solubility of a solid in a liquid? Okay. Every solid does not dissolve in a given liquid. Suppose if you choose any liquid, for example water, every solid, whatever the solid you are taking, every solid does not dissolve in a given liquid. Okay. For example, polar solutes, they dissolve in polar solvents only, as well as non-polar solutes, they dissolve in non-polar solvents. I repeat, polar solutes dissolve in polar solvents and non-polar solutes dissolve in non-polar solvents. We will study this statement by taking the example. Let us take sodium chloride and sugar. Okay? Sodium chloride and sugar, they dissolve in water, right? But they will not dissolve in benzene. Okay? One more example, naphthalene and anthracene, that is the organic compound, they dissolve in benzene, but they will not dissolve in water. Sodium chloride and sugar, they dissolve in water. Naphthalene and anthracene, they dissolve in benzene, but vice versa is not possible. This dissolving in water is not possible. Sodium chloride and sugar dissolving in benzene is not possible. What is the reason? In general, a solute dissolves in a solvent only if the intermolecular interactions are similar in the two. I hope you got the answer. See, intermolecular interactions means between the molecules you can find some of the interactions, bonding. Okay? If that intermolecular interactions between the solute and the solvent are similar, then only a solute can dissolve in a solvent. Okay? So as a summary we can tell, like dissolves like. Okay? A solute dissolves in the solvent only if it has similar interactions, similar intermolecular interactions. Okay? This is the first factor upon which solubility of a solid in a liquid depends. Okay. Now let us study the second factor, that is temperature. How does temperature affect the solubility of a solid in a liquid? Solute plus solvent gives solution. This is dissolution process, and from the solution the solute getting separated out through crystallization process. Since this is in dynamic equilibrium, it must follow Le Chatelier's principle. You have studied in your first year PUC. What is Le Chatelier's principle? That is, if a constraint such as change of pressure or temperature or concentration of the reactant is applied to a system at equilibrium, then the equilibrium shifts in such a way as to nullify the effect of the constraint. Okay? You know that this dynamic equilibrium is possible for saturated solution. Okay? So, if in a nearly saturated solution the dissolution process is endothermic, the solubility should increase with the increase in temperature. I repeat, if in a nearly saturated solution. If the dissolution process is endothermic, what do you mean by endothermic? Endothermic means heat is absorbed. Solute plus solvent plus heat gives solution. Then it is an endothermic reaction. H refers to enthalpy. Change in the enthalpy of the solution is greater than 0. Because it is an endothermic reaction, positive values will be there. Okay? If it is an endothermic, then what happens to the solubility? Solubility should increase with increase in temperature. Okay? Suppose the dissolution process is exothermic. Exothermic means heat is liberated out. Solute plus solvent will give you solution plus heat. So that is exothermic reaction. Here change in the enthalpy of the solution is less than 0 because the values are negative. If it is the exothermic, then what happens to the solubility? Solubility should decrease with the increase in temperature. I repeat, for the solubility of a solid in a liquid, if the dissolution process is endothermic, then solubility should increase with the increase in temperature. If it is a exothermic, solubility should decrease with increase in temperature. Now, let us move to the third factor of solubility of the solid, that is pressure. Pressure does not have any significant effect on solubility of the solids in liquid. Why? What may be the reason? Because you know that solids and liquids are highly incompressible. You cannot compress them very easily. So they are highly incompressible. So because of this incompressibility nature, they practically remain unaffected. If you apply the pressure also, they remain unaffected. So these are the three factors upon which solubility of a solid in a liquid depends. Let us see the second part of the today's class, that is solubility of a gas in a liquid. Okay. So now here also once again we will see the three factors in detail. Okay. The first factor, nature of the gas and the solvent. Here the solute is gas. Okay. Nature of the gas and the solvent. How does this affect the solubility of a gas? So you know that many gases dissolve in water, right? But its extent may vary. Some of the gases may dissolve in a large extent. Some of the gases may dissolve in small extent. So many gases they dissolve in water with the difference in extent. For example, oxygen dissolves only to a small extent, but hydrogen chloride gas, HCl gas, it is highly soluble in water. Okay, oxygen, because of the dissolved oxygen in the water, that sustains all aquatic life. In my last class already I have said, right, because of the dissolved oxygen that is present in the water, aquatic organisms are surviving. And why this difference? Oxygen dissolves only to a small extent, but hydrogen chloride, it is highly soluble. Why? What is the reason? The most soluble gases are the one which are chemically reacting with the liquid solvent. The one that will chemically react with the liquid solvent is most soluble. I hope you got the answer. Okay. Let us study the second factor, that is temperature. The solubility of a gas decreases with the increase in temperature. I repeat again, the solubility of a gas decreases with the increase of temperature. Why? What is the reason? Because gases dissolve in a liquid with the evolution of heat. Evolution of heat means liberation of heat. Which process is that? That is exothermic process. So dissolution of the gas in a liquid is exothermic process. So because of the exothermic process, the solubility of the gas decreases with the increase of temperature. Just look at this graph. solubility versus temperature for the gas in a solvent. Here solvent is liquid. So as the temperature increases, solubility decreases, right? Means there is a inverse relation between temperature and solubility of a gas in a liquid. Okay, look at this picture. If you decrease the temperature, more molecules are soluble, right? If you increase the temperature, less molecules are soluble. You can make out these molecules. Okay, that is what I am going to explain here. Decrease in the temperature increases the solubility of the gas, and increase in temperature decreases the solubility of the gas. This is because the dissolution process is exothermic, and it can be shown like this. Solute plus solvent gives solution plus heat. So therefore, in accordance with the Le-Chatelier's principle, the increase in temperature will result in decrease in the solubility of the gas in liquid. Okay? I hope you understood the second factor. Let us move to the third factor, that is pressure. How does the pressure affect the gas solubility in a liquid? Okay? So solubility of the gases increases with increase of pressure. I repeat, solubility of the gases increases with increase of pressure. This statement we will study in detail. Okay? You look at here. If you increase the pressure, more molecules are soluble. If you decrease the pressure, less molecules are soluble. You can make out from this picture, right? So we'll see how this happens. Consider a system for the solution of gases in a solvent. You take a system in which gas is dissolving in the solvent, and one important thing you have to assume that the system in a state of dynamic equilibrium. You have to assume that there is a dynamic equilibrium. Okay? Under such condition, what happens? The rate of gaseous particles entering and leaving the solution phase is equal. So under dynamic equilibrium, the gaseous particle entering into the solution are equal to the gaseous particle leaving the solution. Means the rate is same. The speed at which these particles entering into the solution is equal to the speed for the particles leaving the solution. Just look at here. This is the system, whatever I have said. This is the solution, surface of the solution. Okay, this is the gas in vapor phase. Now, this is the piston. Now, what will happen if you increase the pressure? Okay, increase the pressure over the solution phase by compressing the gas to a smaller volume. Let me show the picture again. You have to increase the pressure. Look at the second picture. You are increasing the pressure, you are applying the pressure so that gas becomes to a smaller volume. What will happen? From this picture itself you can make out more molecules are soluble at higher pressure. Previous picture you see, here very less molecules are present in the solution phase. When you apply the pressure, when you increase the pressure, more gaseous molecules are soluble. Okay? Now, this will increase the number of gaseous particles per unit volume over the solution. You have seen, right? When you apply the pressure, the number of gaseous particles per unit volume over the solution increases, as well as the rate at which gaseous particles are striking the surface of the solution to enter into the solution also increases. When you apply the pressure, okay, the rate, the speed at which gaseous particles they are striking to the surface of the solution. Why? To enter into the solution. That also increases. As a result, solubility increases. Okay? I hope you understood the effect of pressure. Now, when we discuss about the effect of pressure, very important law, that is Henry's law, we have to explain. Okay? Henry was the first to give quantitative relation between pressure and the solubility. Okay? He gave a relation between pressure and solubility of a gas in a solvent. Now let us see what does this law states. The law states that at a constant temperature, the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas present above the surface of liquid or solution. I repeat once again. See, there is a direct relation between pressure and solubility of the gas. At a constant temperature, solubility of the gas in a liquid, that is directly proportional to the partial pressure of gas that is present above the surface of liquid or solution. Okay? Now, suppose if we take mole fraction of the gas in the solution as a measure of its solubility, what we have to do in the previous Henry's law statement, we gave the relation between pressure and the solubility. Suppose if we replace solubility by a term called mole fraction, then what will happen? Mole fraction of the gas in the solution is proportional to the partial pressure of the gas over the solution. Right? Means there is a direct relation between mole fraction and the partial pressure of the gas. Okay? Henry's law can be commonly used in this form. The previous statement also possible, but the most commonly used form of Henry's law states that is the partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase. Okay, we are talking about the partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase. Take that partial pressure as P. That is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas, X. Mole fraction is represented by X in the solution. I repeat again. The partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase, P, is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. There is a direct relation between partial pressure of the gas and the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. Then what is the mathematical expression for this Henry's law? You know that it is the relation between partial pressure and the mole fraction. So partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase is given by P, and X is nothing but mole fraction of the gas present in the solution or the liquid. So we can relate P is equal to KHX. What is this KH? KH is a constant. Since it is the Henry's law, the constant is called Henry's law constant. P is equal to KHX, where KH is the Henry's law constant. Henry, he has done the experiment by taking cyclohexane solvent with the hydrogen chloride gas as the solute. Okay? So, what he has got? Look at here. This is the partial pressure of the hydrogen chloride gas, and here mole fraction of the hydrogen chloride in the solution of cyclohexane. Cyclohexane is the solvent and hydrogen chloride gas, that is solute. So if we draw a graph between these two, then we will get a straight line passing through the origin. You can make out here, there is a straight line passing through the origin. If we draw a partial pressure of HCl versus mole fraction of the HCl in the solution, we will get a straight line passing through the origin with the slope is equal to kh. This is nothing but y is equal to mx plus c form. So that's why we got the straight line where slope is nothing but kh. Okay, this is important. Okay, kh is the Henry's law constant. You just look at the table. Different gases have different kh value. That is, different gases have different Henry's law constant. Here the gas as well as their temperature, then their kh value is given. Helium, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, formaldehyde, methane, vinyl chloride. So gas as well as their temperature and then kh values are given. So look at this table and we can draw some of the points from this. kh is a function of nature of the gas. Important, look at here. It is a function of nature of the gas. Okay. Higher the value of kh at a given pressure, lower is the solubility. There is a inverse relation between Henry's law constant and solubility of the gas. I repeat again, higher the value of kh at a given pressure, lower is the solubility. You may ask why? Because you know P is equal to kHx, where x is the mole fraction. Okay, mole fraction is nothing but it's a measure of solubility. So that is equal to 1 by kh, inversely related, right? Henry's constant is inversely related to mole fraction, nothing but Henry's constant is inversely related to solubility. So higher the value of kh, lower is the solubility. I hope you understood that point. Okay, and one more thing, if you increase the temperature, what will happen? The value of kh or Henry's law constant increases with increase in temperature. Okay, there is a direct relation between temperature and Henry's constant. If you increase the temperature, kh value also increases. What does it indicate? It indicates that solubility of the gases decreases with increase of temperature, because kh value is increasing, it means solubility is decreasing, right? Because there is an inverse relation. So that's why solubility of the gases decreases with increase of temperature. And very important thing, that is the reason why aquatic species are more comfortable in cold water rather than warm water. Okay, because in cold water temperature is less, so lower the temperature, this what happens to solubility? Solubility will increases, right? So solubility increasing means particularly dissolved oxygen, they are more soluble in water. So in cold water aquatic species are more comfortable because solubility of the gases are more. Okay. Okay students, in today's class we have studied about the solubility of the solid in liquid as well as solubility of the gas in liquid, as well as under that you have seen Henry's law. Okay. So let us discuss some of the questions related to today's topic. First question, state Henry's law and give its mathematical expression. State Henry's law and give its mathematical expression. Okay. Henry's law states that the partial pressure of the gas in vapor phase is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas in the solution. There is a direct relation between partial pressure of the gas with the mole fraction, and give its mathematical expression, that is P is equal to kHx, where kh is the Henry's law constant. We'll move to the next question. Solubility of a solute decreases with increase in temperature if the dissolution process is dash. Okay, I repeat again, solubility of a solute decreases if the dissolution process is dash. So I already have discussed, that is, if the dissolution process is exothermic, then the solubility of a solute decreases with the rise in temperature. We'll see the third question. At a temperature, hydrogen is more soluble in water than helium. Hydrogen is more soluble in water than helium. Which of them will have higher value of KH and Y? See, two gases given, hydrogen and helium, and hydrogen is more soluble in water than the helium. And which of them will have higher value of KH and Y? Here, the question is related to Henry's law constant. You know that Henry's law constant, KH, and their relation with the solubility. It is inversely related. As the KH value increases, solubility decreases. So, the answer is helium. Helium will have higher value of KH, because if the gas has more solubility, it means it has KH value is less. Helium will have higher value of KH because if the gas has more solubility, its KH value is lower. Okay. Next, what is the effect of temperature and pressure on the solubility of the gas in liquid? We have to study what is the effect of temperature and the pressure for the gas. So, solubility of a gas decreases with increase of temperature, as well as solubility of the gases increases with the increase of pressure. There is inverse relation with the temperature and there is direct relation with the pressure. Okay. And the last question, that is fifth question, the value of Henry's constant KH. Option A, increases with increase in temperature, decreases with the increase in temperature, remains constant, first increases then decreases. So we have seen the table of KH values for different gases. There you have seen, right? Value of Henry's constant increases with increase in temperature. Okay. Quote of the day. Science is simply the word we use to describe a method of organizing our curiosity. Thank you. Have a nice day.